You know how sometimes you stumble across like a treasure trove of old documents and photos?
Yeah, and suddenly a whole town's history just kind of clicks into place.
Exactly. And that's pretty much what's happened with Crossett, Arkansas. It's really fascinating.
And it sounds like we have some amazing source material to dig into.
We really do. Thanks to folks like K. Brad Barfield from ACN's Facebook page, who shared these incredible finds. We've got these books by John Wordy Buckner, two of them,
Okay.
found in the Avi T. Switzer Jr. collection. And that collection itself is just packed with old photographs.
Ah, so you get the narrative and the visuals. That's fantastic.
Right. And then Jonathan Portis, who's originally from near Hamburg, he pointed us towards these Sanborn insurance maps.
Oh, Sanborn maps are gold mines. They give you that really detailed, almost block-by-block view, don't they?
They really do. It adds this whole other dimension, seeing the actual layout and how it changed.
So we've got Buckner's accounts, the Switzer photos, the Sanborn maps. It's like looking at Crossett's past through multiple lenses.
Precisely. So our mission here isn't, a dry recitation of facts.
Definitely not.
We want to take all this rich material and really dive deep. Explore Crossett's origins, its growth, pull out the compelling stories, the stuff that makes you go, aha.
And you can see how one town story, like Crossett's, sort of reflects bigger historical trends, right? Going from that rough start,
Like the tent city stage.
yeah, to building up community cornerstones. It mirrors how so many places developed during that era of industrial expansion.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning, the genesis. John Wordy Buckner tells us it really starts with one man, Cap Gates.
Right, Captain E.W. Gates.
And apparently he wasn't totally satisfied with Hamburg, the nearby rail center.
Yeah, he had bigger ideas. He wanted to build his own town, didn't he? Shape it from the ground up.
Exactly. Choose the location, choose the people. A very deliberate act.
And that desire to sort of curate the population, it definitely reflects the thinking of the time, but it shows a real focus on creating a specific kind of place, not just a mill town.
And there's that famous story, isn't there, about choosing the location.
Oh, yeah, with the judge.
Gates is looking around, asks the judge, what's here? And the judge says,
Nothing. And that is the big attraction.
right. The idea being a clean slate, build the mill, the stores, everything exactly how you want it, choose the people.
It's a key point. Crossett wasn't an organic growth. It was planned.
Although the start was pretty basic.
Oh, definitely. That nothing didn't last long. Buckner talks about the rapid growth, early 1900s.
Fueled by the mill jobs, right? Higher wages than surrounding places.
Exactly. Pull people in from Wilmar, Fordyce, Monticello, all over.
And their first taste of Crossett was the tent city.
Yeah, Buckner really paints a picture of that. Families living in these single, one-room tents.
Can you imagine cooking, sleeping, everything in one space?
He mentions the efforts to keep things clean, which must have been a constant battle. Resilience, really,
And not many photos survive from that time, which makes sense.
right? Buckner mentions one, I think, of George Lesser's tent home, which makes that picture incredibly valuable. It shows just how temporary things were at the very start.
But even in those basic conditions, community life started forming. Buckner talks about play parties.
Country dances, essentially. A bit of fun.
Yeah, despite what he calls the religious leanings of most folks.
Although he does hint that some of the more daring young men might have found ways around Cap Gates's rules for a drink or two.
Yeah. Human nature finds a way even in a company town.
It adds that little touch of realism, doesn't it?
So eventually, the tents start giving way to actual houses.
Right. A crucial step. Buckner says the first ones went up along what are now Main and Pine Streets.
And significantly built with lumber from their own mill.
The town literally building itself. That transition to permanent housing, that's when you can really start establishing the cornerstones.
It's like the church and the school.
Exactly. Often intertwined in those early days.
And Crossett was no exception. The very first building, spring of 1902, was both.
Directed by Cap Gates himself. And Buckner emphasizes how fast they built it. Worked through the night.
Really shows the priority, doesn't it? Spiritual and educational foundations right away.
Absolutely. Even before that building, religious services were happening. Brother Jarvis, visiting ministers, preaching in tents sometimes. Faith was fundamental.
And that same building, meant for church, became the first schoolhouse, too. Resourceful.
Definitely. But as the town grew, they needed a proper system. Buckner mentions early tuition. Like $4 for high school.
Wow. Times have changed.
And they had influential leaders like Superintendent D.C. Hastings. Long tenure, 1905 to 1944.
Buckner gives him credit for modernizing things, looking at new ideas.
Like the Gary, Indiana plan,
Yeah.
that work-study-play model. Pretty forward-thinking for the time.
And they invested in facilities, too. The Green School, an auditorium, home economics cottage, a shop.
Even a band hall that doubled as a community theater, a real holistic approach.
And that commitment continued. Later, under Superintendent Silas D. Snow, they focused on academics and navigated school integration.
Buckner mentions the Committee of 100, and Hugh Willis's role in making that happen effectively. Shows the community adapting to major social changes.
It really does. And alongside education, the churches grew too.
Right. The first dedicated church building went up in 1904.
And various denominations got started early. Around 1902, First Baptist, Gates Chapel Methodist, the First Baptist Church for blacks.
Often meeting in homes or the schoolhouse at first.
Yeah, sharing resources again. But as they grew, they built their own dedicated buildings. It mirrored the town's overall growth.
Okay, so moving from the spiritual and educational core, let's talk about the economic heart, the company store.
The Stowe, as Buckner calls it, the commissary.
Run by the Crossett Lumber Company, central hub.
And Buckner emphasizes guaranteed satisfaction, fair prices, which maybe wasn't always the case in company towns.
That's a good point. It aimed to be reliable, and the range of goods was apparently staggering.
Buckner says from plow points to aeroplanes, though maybe the airplanes were a slight exaggeration.
Possibly. But definitely candy, tobacco, feed, fertilizer, clothes, shoes, fruit. Mrs. Jimmy Lawson Boyd said there was nothing like it.
Yeah, essential for everyone. And Buckner mentions the early wages like $1.30 a day.
And the coupon book system for credit shows the company's influence, but maybe also a safety net, especially later during the Depression.
Buck Carter's memories give a good feel for the layout, too. Candy counter, tobacco area.
And that wrap-out system for closing time. The manager just rapping his knuckles until people left. Imagine that today.
No way. But Buckner also mentions it wasn't always mundane. There was apparently a shootout there in the early days.
Whoa, a reminder that it was still a frontier town in some ways.
Okay, so from the commissary, let's switch gears to recreation. Baseball.
Ah, yes, the Crossett Millers.
Buckner calls them an outstanding baseball team. Really popular, drew thousands of fans.
They even played in a minor league organized in 1937. Shows a decent level of play.
He named some players, Lefty Butler, Shorty Oslin, Paul McDaniels, Charles Brooks, and they had good records, like 47 wins one season.
And the paper mill connection helped. They offered higher pay to attract good players.
Recruited by Tex Moore, Buckner says.
Right. Games were big community events. Rodeo Field, later the junior high grounds. Sunday games, July specials.
They even put in lights for night games eventually.
Yeah, and the company helped with travel, sometimes just piling into whatever was available. Real local pride.
And speaking of local pride and outdoor events, the rodeo.
The Crossett Riding Club, officially formed in '48.
Buckner names some key figures. Norman Beardsley, Bob Parkhill, Russell Bell.
Driven by a love of horses, challenge, civic pride, the whole spectacle.
And the annual Crossett Rodeo became huge. He mentions crowds of 10,000, even 15,000 in the mid-50s.
Wow. That's impressive for a town that size.
They had rodeo queens, grand entries, the works.
And what's really neat is that all the profits went back into improving the facilities, a real community effort.
Totally. And Buckner mentions all the different riding clubs that participated from all over, some with great names.
Like the Cooter Riding Club.
And the Moonshiners Riding Club of West Crossett. You gotta love it.
It just shows that strong sense of local identity and shared fun.
Okay, let's shift to some of the physical symbols of the town. The landmarks Buckner highlights. The rose, the whistle, the smokestack.
Right. Starting with the Crossett Hotel, which later became the Rose Inn.
Prominently located near the commissary, it burned down once, then was rebuilt.
Seems like it was pretty well regarded. Good service, popular with salesmen, company officials.
Buckner even includes a 1914 Christmas menu. Roast young turkey, sage stuffing. Sounds pretty fancy for the time.
Yeah, it gives you a little taste of the era. Later on, it became more of a boarding house, especially for teachers.
Which led to that nickname, the Co-Ed Hotel.
Apparently the site of many courtships.
Mm.
And bridge clubs met there, social events. It was a real social hub.
And that poignant detail after it was torn down, finding that long-stemmed rose embedded in the framework.
Yeah, that's quite an image. Preserved now at the library, I think he says.
Then there was a smokestack. Huge, 275 feet tall, built in the 20s.
Visible for miles. A real symbol of the mills, of industry.
Had to come down eventually for safety reasons, but its absence must have changed the skyline.
Definitely. And the third landmark, the whistle.
The sawmill whistle. Buckner describes the sound. Long and mournful, or wildcat-like.
And it dictated everything. Work times, lunch breaks, the whole rhythm of the town for decades.
The silence after the mill closed must have been profound.
A huge shift. Another vital landmark, though maybe less visually iconic, was the hospital.
Right. Started early, around 1904-05. Dr. Sparks, Nurse Patterson.
And those early medical costs Buckner mentions seem tiny now.
But the company insurance plan was pretty forward-thinking, wasn't it? Comprehensive care for employees and families for a small fee.
Yeah, quite progressive for the time. And the hospital was also a nurses' training school for a while.
Until 1937. Then later, the Crossett Health Foundation formed, raised funds, built a new facility.
Shows that ongoing community commitment to healthcare. And the Meredith House, providing a place for patient families to stay. That's a really considered touch.
Okay, now for something a bit different. A bit spooky, maybe.
The legend. Railroad romance, the legend of the light.
Buckner tells the story of Rosemarie and David, young lovers meeting by the railroad tracks east of town.
And then the tragic accident. David losing his life and supposedly his head.
Leading to the legend of Rosemarie's ghost, forever searching with her lantern, the light.
It's a classic piece of local folklore. And Buckner notes people are still fascinated by it, still go looking for the light today.
All sorts of explanations, right?
Yeah.
Refraction, UFOs, ghost lantern.
Yeah, the mystery is part of the appeal. Buckner even includes someone's account of trying to see it without conclusive results.
Yeah.
Keeps the legend alive.
So as the town grew, so did its government, mayors, marshals.
Buckner gives us a sense of that civic development. Early mayors like M.P. Dooley overseeing growth.
Then J.E. Hawkins, first traffic laws, stoplights, sidewalks, city park. Really modernizing things.
The George R. Lesser, known for Family Day, attracting industry. F.M. Carter, overseeing the City Hall dedication and significantly school integration.
Leading through change, and later mayors like A.B. Moore Jr. continue that progress.
And Buckner touches on that important shift away from being purely a company town, where the company owned houses.
To residents owning their own property, a big step towards community independence.
Definitely. Finally, Buckner gives us that great list. Firsts and fiddlings.
Yeah, like little snapshots. First post office, first baby born, W.R. Williams, August 1902.
First black logging contractor, James Henderson. First football game in 1907. First wedding, 1903.
First marshal, first hotel, the one that burned, first sawmill, first reservoir.
First realtor, first independent shoe store, first gazebo, first cannery. It just builds a picture, doesn't it?
It really does. Plus other milestones. The Bank of Crossett, the railroad connection completed, clinics, churches, schools being built or dedicated.
Even visits from a Yale forestry class back in 1912.
And naming key people, first commissary manager, logging foreman, members of the Gates and Switzer families.
And early clubs, like the Crossett Study Club from 1919, shows that civic and social engagement was there early on.
So wrapping up this deep dive, thanks again to K. Brad Barfield for sharing these resources. Buckner's books, the Switzer photos, the Sanborn maps via Jonathan Portis. It really paints a picture.
It truly does. From that initial tent city, Cap Gates's vision, to a fully formed community, it's quite a journey.
Driven by the mill, yes, but also by the people, the institutions they built, that community spirit.
And the aha moment, for me anyway, is seeing how these different types of sources, the narrative, the visual, the map data layered together.
Right. It gives such a rounded view.
And those specific details.
Yeah.
The commissary selling everything, the co-ed hotel, the legend of the light. They stick with you, make it feel real.
Absolutely. And hopefully for everyone listening, it shows how local history, even of one town, can be so rich and connect to bigger themes.
Pioneering spirit, industry, community building, folklore. It's all there in Crossett's story.
And it kind of makes you think, doesn't it? What will future historians make of our communities?
Yeah. Looking at the traces we leave behind today, our digital lives, the way our towns are changing now.
Yep. It definitely highlights the importance of preserving these stories, understanding how places evolve. Maybe it inspires folks to look into their own town's history.
There are always fascinating stories waiting to be uncovered, aren't there?